I grew up in New Bedford, Massachusetts. My grandmother and grandfather lived close to us. They were very much involved with tzedakah. They had given that to my mother. It was my maternal grandparents. And so there was always some way of collecting funds. But I think that was always something inbred in the family.
Well, of course, in my family, I came from a kosher home, so it was more religious, I think, than Irwin's. And we had the typical J&F blue box. So that's how I grew up with it. And my father, we came from modest means, but my father was in the wholesale liquor business, so he would always deliver wine to the synagogue for the holidays. Irwin and I both agreed that we didn't have to agree to agree. It came naturally to do this, to be generous in the community. And that's wonderful, because that doesn't always happen that way.
Well, most of us have been given great opportunities to have a very successful life, a potential for growth. It's very important, I think, to hand those type of opportunities to others to make sure that they also have that chance to improve their own lives. And so we've been very lucky along the path that we've taken, and I think it's important to share that with others.
But we've also been very fortunate because both of us were able to go to college. Irwin got scholarships, and I went to a state school, so that I wouldn't have been able to go to Cornell if my tuition hadn't been provided by the state. So we both benefited from generosity of others. So it's important to pass that down too.
As far as passing down the idea of philanthropy and help for others, I think rather than lecturing to families, you do things yourself and they notice. And so our 4 sons have certainly noticed that we have been philanthropic. They pick that up themselves. They pass that to their grandchildren. The grandchildren also notice. And so it ends up being an ongoing activity. The idea of setting up the funds for each grandchild was one that came to us fairly recently, that perhaps is even a better way to make sure that they're involved. And to do so on an individual basis, so each one can make their own decisions as to how they want to use those funds, add to those funds over time, and get right into this whole area of philanthropy. I think it's very important for all of us to recognize our Jewish heritage, and that does include education, it does include the tzedakah, it does include great caring for others. And I think that's a hallmark of our religion over the years. We like to be part of that and then be able to pass that on to others. And the best way, again, is by example. You do things because they're important to you, but then others may notice and decide, well, perhaps that's something of interest to us as well. And so that does set an example that can be very useful.
And I think within the family, it's also important that they understand the duty to give to others, to share, and whatever, as Irwin said, whatever level, but that they all know that that's part of how you really say thank you.